Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I am joined today again for another episode of the Master Spotlight with Maria from INSEAD. And she is the recruiter and market. She does the recruiting and marketing for the Americas. And she is going to walk us through a great presentation today. I will come back and we'll answer some questions and we'll do some questions and answers. So if you do have any questions during the presentation, feel free to enter them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them when I come back. Also, I see that they are posting the link for the Zoom rooms. So if you haven't signed up for that, you will find the link in the chat. But without further ado, Maria, I will go ahead and hand you the mic.
Great. Thank you, Brendan, and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Throughout the presentation, my thumb will be going up, but Christy, who is not on screen, will be changing the slides for me. So if you see that, it doesn't mean that I'm affirming my presentations, means that somebody else is changing the slides. But anyway, welcome. I'm very happy to be here. Today I want to talk about INSEAD and also our Masters in Management program. So for a lot of you who are joining us today, you've probably been thinking about going back to school and maybe even dreaming about an international career. So I'm going to tell you about this new program, which is really a launch pad for an international career, if that's something that you're thinking about. So INSEAD is an international business school. We have 3 campuses. We have a campus in Europe, in Fontainebleau, which is right outside of Paris. It's about 45 minutes from Gare de Lyon. And then our second campus is in Singapore. It's in the Knowledge District. And then our most recent campus in Abu Dhabi, which is, it's situated, we just moved 2 years ago to the Maria Island. So our program that I'm going to talk about today allows you to study in these 3 different campuses. Just to give you a little bit of what the class profile looks like. So for the MIM program, it's a new program. The first class is now on campus. They're in Europe, in Fontainebleau, and they've been there since September. It's targeting individuals who have between 0 to 2 years of work experience, so very limited experience. It's a very short program of 10 months. And then again, it allows you to spend time on our 3 different campuses. So to give you a little more detail on how the program is organized, there are 5 academic periods, and each period is 2 months. And then in between periods, there is also a week off. So period 1, 2, and 3, you're going to spend in our Fontainebleau campus. And then P4 and 5 in our Singapore campus. And then while you are in Fontainebleau, you also have optional trips. So you have an optional trip to Abu Dhabi, and then in Singapore, you also have an optional trip to China and to San Francisco. We have Innovation Center in San Francisco, so if that would be of interest to you, but those trips are optional. So period, the curriculum, it's set up for you. And then on period 4 and 5, you also have the opportunity to add some electives. So whether it's electives on learning more about strategy or entrepreneurship, whatever your interest is. But for the most part, up to most periods 1, 2, 3, and 4 will have the curriculum very much set up for you. So it will be a set of core business classes, and then you'll have an opportunity to practice with workshops. And then also each period will have a practical where you get to apply your learning in a real life scenario. So this program is really designed to prepare individuals who want to find opportunities in corporations, in the business setting, and it's really preparing you for functional roles. So when I say functional roles, these are roles, I'm going to give you some examples. So whether you're looking for roles in consulting, in financial service, or high tech, or consumer goods, so these are the types of industries. And then the types of functional roles will be more, as examples, could be project management, you could be analyst, you could be in sales and marketing and operations, so a variety of functional roles. So how does this is different from the MBA program? So typically the MBA program will be similar industries, but the roles will be focused more on strategy, more on leadership. As the MIM program, your roles will be in functional areas. You're actually going to be doing the analyst work, or the brand manager, or the operations supply person, or even in sales roles, like business development. So it's really tailor you for those first functional roles. So for those of you who are thinking, are graduating or graduated recently, and are thinking about pursuing a program like the Master's in Management at INSEAD, typically there are 3 areas that we look for. So the first one, can you handle the academic work? So we're going to look at your GMAT scores, or we also accept the GRE scores. We also look at how well you did on your undergrad degree. Not so much the GPA, because we have a variety of nationalities coming through our program, and in different countries, there is a different GPA scale. But we're going to look at your transcripts, how well you did in your coursework, your class load, the difficulty of your courses, etc. So those are kind of some of the things we consider when determining whether you can handle the rigor of the program. The next one is your international motivation. So that's going to come in a variety of ways. Maybe you speak other foreign language, maybe you did a study abroad program, maybe you did an internship, or your first job, you worked with international clients, maybe you're a multicultural individual, you are from a different country but came to the US for school. So we'll consider that as your international motivation. And then for the MIM program, the other thing we consider is your ability to contribute. What are you bringing to the program? So any special interests you have outside of school will be relevant. If you did an internship one summer, that would be relevant. If you do volunteer work for a nonprofit organization, if you started your own startup while you were in college, those will be all interesting things that you're bringing to the class. So as the admissions committee reviews your application, we're looking at these 3 areas and trying to determine what's unique to your profile, both on your personal and professional experience thus far, that will bring and add diversity to the class. So for the application, these are the items that we consider. So as I mentioned, you'll require a GMAT or a GRE score, your transcripts. The other piece to this is also a language. So the language of instruction for the program is English, but we also require that you have a second language at a practical level. So a practical level would be if you had a minor or even a major in the language, that would be practical level. There are 3 essays and 1 optional essay, and then 2 letters of recommendation. And these letters of recommendations can be, if you're still in school, could be from your professors, or if you do volunteer work and you've worked with somebody where you've done a project and they're willing to give you a reference, that would be great as well. There is also a video interview that it's part of the application. So diving a little bit more into the language requirement. So there are actually 3 languages. So for admissions, you need to have English, of course, which for a lot of you joining from the US today, it's probably not going to be an issue. And then a second language at a practical level which you can submit at the time of admissions or once you are enrolled in the program. And then to graduate, you need a third language, but at a basic level, which is quite easy to achieve. But it doesn't quite have to be a language. It could also be a third language, could be coding. So for those of you who are in science and know computer coding, that could qualify as a third language as well. So currently we are recruiting for the September 2021 intake. So that's the class that will start this fall. We already had 3 rounds of, well, we're going to have the 3rd round of applications, which is next week. And then we'll have 2 more, one in April and then the final one in June. So if you're graduating or graduated last year and you're still debating whether to go to grad school or not, but if you do have a GMAT score or a GRE, you're still on time. All right, so I encourage you to keep in touch. We have different online events, also in-person events, but of course, because of the COVID, the majority now are online. So I encourage you to check them out. Most of them will also have students online with student panels, which is a great way for you to learn a little bit more about the student life. So with this, I will end it here. Brendan, I don't know if we have Q&A, but I'm happy to answer any of the questions.
Thank you so much, Maria. That was a great presentation. And yeah, you definitely left a good amount of time for Q&A. And I saw quite a few in the chat, as well as we have some from the banners as well in here. I'm going to move this off screen. And anybody watching the video, you can go back and rewatch this portion if you want to get any more of the communicating slides, Facebook, email, any of that. Okay, so let's start out. So I think one of the good questions I see quite a lot is how to stand out in an overrepresented applicant pool apart from exceptional GMAT. So what are some of the standout characteristics a person can have, or maybe they're just not looking internally enough to kind of express their individuality? What do you suggest to people who feel like they may just blend in too much?
Yeah, I think it's important whenever you start working on your application, it's important to remember those 3 areas that I talked about. So the academic capacity, that's a no-brainer, you know, your previous academia, your GMAT scores. But then the next one is your international motivation. Obviously, for an international program, this is going to be important for a variety of ways. One is that you're going to join a very diverse class of nationalities and personal and professional experience. So it's important that you highlight those in terms of you know, things that you are already doing, any travel that you've had while in school, a study abroad program would be important to highlight. Any language you know would be also important to highlight. Any experience that you've had so far, you know, living overseas, if you did that. What we're looking for in this area is really understanding your global mindset. So, you know, will you be somebody that will get along in the environment where everyone is different? Everyone will have an accent. So can you get along with classmates that are not like you? So that would be an important one. And then the third one that I talked about in the presentation was your ability to contribute. So what are some of the experience that you're bringing to the program that is going to add to that diversity? So maybe you are a juggler for Cirque du Soleil, maybe you play the accordion. So those are great to add to your application because we're looking for diversity, not just in nationalities, but also in personal and professional backgrounds.
Fantastic. No, that was a great answer and a very well-rounded answer as well. I liked the pointers there. And kind of staying on the application questions piece, I do see a question in the chat asking about scholarships and whether applying later in the process is going to hurt their scholarship chances, or what are your thoughts and feedback on that?
Yeah, great question. So for the Masters in Management, the applicants are automatically considered for multiple scholarships when the admissions committee reviews their application. So there are scholarships that are based on merit, some are on need, some are on specific diversity, whether it's nationalities or professional or personal backgrounds. So the applicant doesn't actually need to apply, so they will be automatically considered for those scholarships. I do want to point out a couple other things. If you hadn't had an opportunity to visit our financial aid page for the Masters in Management, I recommend to doing that, because there's also other sources of financial aid. Some of them are focus on loans, which are available to you. If you're based in the US, I strongly recommend to take advantage of the federal loans to study abroad. They're probably one of the most generous plans out there for students. The Department of Education from the US would love for students to go overseas and experiencing that. And so please check their webpage, because I think if you need money to do this type of program, they probably, for US candidates, it's probably the most generous package that it's out there. So I encourage you to take a look.
Very good point, and good information for those who might know that that program is not out there. I see another question asked in the chat from Pratik, asking, where can he go to kind of find career stats of some of the recently graduated classes?
Yeah, so the Masters in Management, or MIM program, the first class is now on campus. So they will be graduating in September this year. And then after that, they also have an option to do an internship. And it's optional, because a lot of them, while they're in the program, they're already doing career development with their career coach. They're already interviewing with companies. So we wanted to keep the internship optional. And so they could do a 4 months or a 6 month, but it's not mandatory. So if you find an opportunity while you're in the program and you want to take it, you don't have to do the internship. What I can recommend that you do, so that you have an idea of the types of companies that come to campus, is look at the MBA program employment stats. Under the career development, there is a booklet that we publish every year. And the companies that come to recruit our MBA students are the same companies that are recruiting our MIM students. So that's a great resource just for you to have a feel of the different industries and companies that come to campus. Obviously, they're recruiting the MIM students for functional roles, which is very different from the MBA students. But that would be a guide that will give you a lot of granular information in terms of the types of companies, the job placement by region of the world, and then even salaries for that group of students.
Fantastic. And just kind of moving right along too, we have another question, kind of re-specifying some of the information that you gave on the language requirement. I know there's a decent amount of questions on that, so maybe just retouching on that. Can you define the language requirement again? Do they need to provide certificates showing that they have that experience, or how do they show that on their application?
Yeah, good question. So the second language at a practical level, let's say, as I mentioned, if you had a minor or a major in that language in college, that would be enough. But let's say you learn that language, maybe not in college, somewhere else where you kind of, I think I know Spanish, but I have no idea what my level is. You can always get tested If you don't know where to get tested, you can go to the nearest consulate, embassy of that country who speaks that language and ask them where you can get tested. Usually they will either be able to test you or give you some resources of where to get tested. We also have a PDF document under admissions tab that you can download that gives you more detail and resources. So that's one. Then the third language, of course, you don't need to worry until you get enrolled in the program. And then we offer classes in different language, both in Fontainebleau and in Singapore, that you can enroll. If you are one of those individuals who are in science or computer science and you already know coding, that would be another way to fulfill that third language requirement. The one thing I didn't mention in the presentation that I will just say, for those of you who are multicultural individuals and either came to the US for school, but now you have two native language, you know, you have the language that you speak at home with your family as your first native language and English as your second native language, you can use those two as a way for admission. So I would say list your first native language, which is with the language you speak with your family, and then your second native language, which is English. And then if you went to school in the US, that's your proof and you're done. And then you just need to worry about your third language when you are at INSEAD.
Fantastic. And maybe sticking one or two more questions on the application side. I see Rebecca as asking questions about just the international internship experience. If they are not international, maybe in work experience or just in general, does that severely hurt their application, or what are some ways that they can maybe combat that?
No, it doesn't affect. I mean, what we're looking for is a global mindset. So we're going to have some individuals that already had a lot of international exposure, and then we're going to have some individuals that have limited international exposure. So if you fall under the second category, it will be important to highlight why you want to pursue, a MIM program overseas, because maybe you want to have an international career, maybe because you want to build a network of alumni around the world, meet with potential employers that have international roles, maybe because you want to learn from others who are different from you. So you need to focus, if you have limited international exposure, then focus why you want to do a program like INSEAD. So I always talk about, I have an alum in Chicago who graduated last year, and prior to INSEAD, he's never been outside of the United States, but he went to INSEAD, he graduated. This is an MBA student, but it's just to tell you that we also value that type of candidate because that also adds to our diversity. So maybe knowing an international foreign language, that will be international exposure that you can show us. It doesn't mean that you have to travel the world. And even for those candidates who already travel the world, it's not about a long list of places you've been in the world, but more about what have you learned from those experiences? How has that impacted you as a person? And how do you see the world now?
That was a fantastic answer. Thank you so much for that. And then I do actually see a little bit or a couple different questions relating to GRE GMAT scores. So I did want to touch base on that. Do you have an average GRE or average GMAT you can give for people to shoot for? But then maybe taking a step back from that, how should people look at their own GMAT, GRE scores and figure out if that's good enough for their profile? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's also the question about the application fee waiver on this, if you wanted to tack that on the end as well.
Sure. So for the GMAT and the GRE, we don't have a minimum score, but we do recommend for the GMAT that candidates aim for at least a 65 percentile balance score between the quant and the verbal. We also publish the range, obviously, because this is the first class, so we don't have that yet. Well, actually, we do. And that's published on our website. I don't recall exactly, but it starts like at 650, and I think it goes to 750 or something like that. So it's a wide range, but to have a solid score, we recommend you aim for that 65% percentile balance score between the quant and the verbal. For the GRE, it's a little higher. It's more like 80% percentile between the quant and the verbal. In terms of application fee, at this point, we do not waive application fees. If it was a situation that, you know, we can evaluate it case by case, but in general, we don't.
Okay, fantastic. And then another question relating to visas in terms of getting a visa to work in a country. Deval says, since the programs are only 6 months in France and 4 in Singapore, can a student get post-study work visas in these countries, and what are the durations if you have those answers?
Yeah, good. So the companies that come to INSEAD, they're global multinational companies. Usually we have between 400 to 600 multinational companies coming through our campus every year, ranging from consulting to tech, you know, of consumer goods, a variety of industries. And when they come to INSEAD, they're recruiting for global roles. They tend to be jobs that have international focus. And given that, they looking for individuals, students like INSEAD that come from a variety of nationalities and professional and personal backgrounds. So they're prepared to sponsor you, and they also have the framework to hire you. One thing to pay attention is, you know, let's say you fall in love with a startup in Paris, that might be a great opportunity, but those types of organizations may not have the framework or the means to hire. So, but companies that come to INSEAD, they're looking to hire our students. They know that in the MBA program, for example, we have usually 90 plus 95 nationalities. So as you can see, everyone on campus is from a different place of the world, and they're being placed. Usually the job placement for that class is over 90%. And in order to be 90%, it means they have to find a job. No more, they have to be placed within 3 months out of graduation. So if they get placed 6 months, then that doesn't count, and it's not counting as job placement. So from the visas, I would say, you know, the companies, our students are being placed in Europe, in Asia, in North America, and it's fine. From a language standpoint, this is where you need to pay a little attention. You know, where are you comfortable? Are you comfortable working in a country that may not speak English? So maybe in the office, you'll be speaking English with your colleagues because you're working for a multinational company, but outside of work, will you feel comfortable having a community that maybe doesn't speak English? In speaking with some of my colleagues in the career development, they highlighted that usually the Netherlands, the Scandinavian countries tend to be more welcoming if you know, if you speak English, even outside of the office, as countries like France or Germany, you know, they maybe be more focused on having their own language outside of work. So those are things to think about, you know, as you look for an opportunity either in Europe or in Asia. But it's also good questions to work with your career coach. When you arrive in INSEAD, you'll have a career coach. So this will be an opportunity to think through that as well. You know, what countries do I want to target?
Yeah, great and great points again. And we'll get maybe one more question, and then I definitely will give you some time for for some last thoughts, and then we'll give you some time to transition to the Zoom rooms as well. Anyone on the chat that is signed up for the Zoom rooms, make sure you're checking your email and calendars. Those invites should have definitely been sent out by now. But one question that I don't think that we've touched on yet specifically, but one that I see a lot, is people that have a decent amount of work experience and they're conflicted between the MIM and the MBA process. Which one, can you give some insight on how to kind of identify which one is right for the individual?
Yeah, great question. Because I think on this part of the world, we get that question a lot, because the undergrad degree, it's 4 years, and then to go right back to school, it's a little more challenge, as in Europe, you know, the undergrad is 3 years and people are used to going right back to their master's. So 2 things. If you are graduating or graduated last year and you're like, okay, I want to go back to school because now I have decided I really want to have an international career. I'm okay, you know, I have limited work experience, but I want to transition into an international career and I'm ready to do it now. And the MIM program is definitely targeting those individuals who just graduated or graduated last year and they really want to transition into that international career. On the other hand, if you graduated or are graduating and you want to work for the next 2-3 years, and then pursue an MBA, then I would say this program's not for you. Especially if you are looking to have more leadership types of roles, roles that involve more strategy, then I would say focus on being a practitioner in finding that first job and see how you like it. And then maybe in 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you pursue that MBA. Because MBA is really preparing you for leadership and strategy types of roles. The MIM program is really for those of you who are like, I'm graduating, I think I know I want to go into an international career, but I don't know how to do it, and I'm not ready to work yet. I need to have more tools, and I need to have more connections. Then the MIM program is there to help you find those international opportunities, but for functional roles, not leadership roles.
Beautiful. No, that was clear and concise, and I think that should help unmuddy the waters for those students who may be caught in the balance of trying to figure out which is right for them. But I do want to give you the chance, as we kind of move on, you're going to be doing the Zoom room next, so I want to give you a little bit of a breather before then. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts to those watching the live stream now, just thinking about applying or in the middle of applying at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's important for you to continue, you know, if you're attending events. We certainly have a lot of events on our website, online. I think it's important for you to continue to watching those, connect with our students. They're very helpful in having you understanding what the student life is. And it doesn't have to be the MIM students on campus. You can also reach out to our alumni, our MBA's alumni, because they've done it. They can tell you what a student life is at INSEAD, what opportunities are there after INSEAD. The best way to connect with them is actually via LinkedIn. When you type INSEAD on LinkedIn, it will bring you to the university page. And then on the left, you'll have people, alumni. So when you click on alumni, you can type in your city, and then we'll give you a list of alumni in your region or city. I encourage you to reach out to them. I don't promise 100% of the time they'll say, yes, I'm happy to chat with you, but 99% of the time they'll be very happy to speak with you. And then, of course, as you proceed with your application, eventually you'll be interviewed by INSEAD alums as well. So it's a great way to connect with them. So I wish you all the best. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to chat with you in the near future.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Maria. That was a great presentation, and thank you for sticking around doing the Zoom rooms after. And thank you to all of our viewers today as well. Thank you for the great chats. As a reminder, this video will be available online afterwards. You can go back and rewatch to get some of that information, as well as Maria had her contact page up with all the ways you can connect with INSEAD. But another point too is what Maria was just saying. Do not do this application in a bubble. I think that's been a common theme that we've heard from many different people is reach out to the whoever you can on LinkedIn, get feedback, get advice. You don't have to do this by yourself. So thank you so much, Maria, and thank you to our viewers, but we are gonna go ahead and end it here. So everyone have a great day.
Thank you, it was a pleasure, bye.